On a first-class flight of a renowned airline, the cabin is decorated with high-end interiors, smooth leather seats, and warm lighting spreading throughout the space. Every detail is meticulously crafted, from the delicate lines of the walls and ceiling to the arrangement of luxurious amenities, all creating an atmosphere of exclusivity and sophistication. However, amid the outward orderliness, the atmosphere suddenly shifts, from calm to a tense and chaotic state no one could have anticipated. Inside the cabin, while most passengers are relaxing, enjoying a light meal, and gazing out the window at the view, an unexpected event takes place. Mark Anderson, a man with a stern expression, but hiding within him emotions that have been bottled up, suddenly stands up in the middle of the cabin. Without warning, he springs into action, shouting loudly, screaming, and waving his arms frantically. Mark's scream echoes like thunder in the elegant atmosphere, causing everyone in the cabin to turn and stare with shocked and fearful eyes. In that moment, Mark points furiously at a man sitting quietly. That man is none other than David Beckham, an icon of success, elegance, and a refined lifestyle, long celebrated for his luxurious appearance and calm demeanor. David is enjoying the flight, sitting in his smooth leather seat, engrossed in his light meal and relaxing, unaware that a storm of emotions is about to hit. Immediately, Mark's shout erupts, shattering the peaceful atmosphere. Mark rushes forward, his hands trembling but filled with rage, and approaches David. He grabs David's hair and then slaps his face hard, not stopping there. Mark throws punches and kicks into the air as if trying to tear everything apart, leaving behind sounds of impact and screams echoing throughout the cabin. His actions, filled with frenzy and lack of control, turn the cabin into a chaotic scene, causing passengers around to gasp and tremble in horror. Each punch, each scream from Mark Anderson seems to echo an unspoken declaration that behind David Beckham's luxurious appearance and calm demeanor may lie conflicts, emotions left unresolved. The warm light that initially filled the cabin now dims, broken by the storm of intense emotions. In that moment of chaos, the atmosphere shifts from the refinement of the elite to a scene of violence, leaving every passenger in shock at the sudden turn of fate. David Beckham, although attacked by successive slaps and kicks, maintains his usual calm exterior. He sits there, his face showing no sign of anger or resistance, only silence, as if accepting what is happening as an inevitable part of life. That calm, although unable to conceal the shock within, acts like a shield protecting the image he has built over years of relentless effort. In that moment, every scream, every punch from Mark Anderson becomes a piece in the chaotic puzzle of fate, creating an unforgettable moment between luxury and a storm of emotions. The surrounding passengers, from the elderly to the youth, are caught in the shock. Some stand up, their eyes fixated on the scene, while others silently keep their gaze on Mark's every movement. The air becomes suffocating, the sounds of screaming and striking reverberating like haunting bass notes, drawing everyone into an emotional storm that cannot be extinguished. In that moment, the elegant appearance of the first-class flight is shattered by an unexpected eruption of the soul, making everything feel alive and dramatic to the point that no one can believe it. After the chaotic storm on the flight, as Mark Anderson was gradually subdued and the atmosphere in the cabin returned to a temporary peace, the echoes of the event still resonated in the minds of every passenger. David Beckham, who was once revered as a symbol of success and elegance, had now become the focal point of a storm of criticism and violent actions. Although he maintained his composed exterior, inside, his thoughts were in turmoil, and emotions conflicted like waves relentlessly sweeping everything away. He began to realize that the reputation he had spent his entire life building, the image of a successful person, always displaying confidence and refinement, now seemed fragile, easily shaken when the true emotions of a person were exposed to the light of hasty judgment. Meanwhile, Mark Anderson, the one who had stirred up the fierce storm on the flight, emerged as the embodiment of a rebellious soul. His frantic actions, from shouts harsh slaps to uncontrollable kicks, not only revealed a surge of rage, but also left the mark of deep-seated prejudices and unresolved personal conflicts. He carried within him a storm of dark emotions, slanderous rumors, and long-standing unresolved conflicts, making his actions a bold declaration that behind the calm and successful exterior that had been praised, there always existed unspoken thoughts and pains that could not be suppressed. The contrast between the two characters, David Beckham, always praised for his success and elegance, and Mark Anderson, the rebellious figure with fury and extreme actions, created a profound conflict, not only between the two individuals, but also between the socially upheld values and the raw reality of human beings. In the airplane cabin, as the passengers' eyes turned toward David, and whispers and questioning glances began to rise, the question about the true origin of Mark's anger became explosive. Could this emotional outburst merely be the result of false rumors, or did it conceal a deep personal conflict that Mark was unwilling to admit? David Beckham, although maintaining his composed exterior and a confident demeanor, was internally filled with conflicting thoughts. He wondered if his reputation, the strong wall he had built through years of relentless work, was truly a protective shield, or just a fragile outer layer easily damaged when genuine emotions of a person were exposed. Every glance, every piece of gossip from the passengers seemed like invisible knives cutting into the image he had tried to maintain, making his natural confidence appear shaky and fragile. He sensed a deep contrast between the values that society praised and the conflicted reality of human beings, as hasty criticisms and unfounded rumors crept into each moment. Meanwhile, Mark Anderson, with his violent actions, became a symbol of a soul that would never submit to the pressures of society. His actions, from shouting to slapping and kicking, were not just expressions of rage, but also like a strong statement that fame and success, no matter how many years they were built, were just fragile illusions when true emotions were exposed. He believed that behind the calm demeanor and successful image of celebrities always lurked conflicts and pains that society refused to acknowledge. The contrast between David's silence and Mark's emotional storm opened up a deep confrontation, making every passenger in the cabin wonder, does reputation truly reflect the person, or is it just a fragile outer shell easily damaged by genuine emotions? In the now heavy atmosphere of the cabin, whispers and judgmental glances began to infiltrate, creating a vivid picture of the conflict between reputation and reality. Every action of David, every strike from Mark seemed like pieces of a silent story, raising profound questions about the value of success and reputation. Beneath the glorified image, did pain and conflict always exist, unacknowledged by anyone? And in a world where rumors and hasty judgments could destroy everything, could reputation still be a strong protective shield? As the cabin slowly calmed down, the echoes of the shouts, the slaps, and the judgmental glances still reverberated in the minds of each witness. That event, although lasting only a few minutes, left a deep mark. The mark of a confrontation between a reputation built through years of effort and the genuine emotions that could no longer be suppressed. In that atmosphere, each person wondered whether reputation truly protected a person, or was it just a fragile outer shell easily damaged by unjust judgments and false rumors? The confrontation between David Beckham and Mark Anderson opened up a wordless conflict, as the silence of David and the emotional storm of Mark merged, creating a complex picture about the value of success and the reality of human beings. The actions, the gestures of both seemed to speak for themselves, that reputation and success were not always a protective shield, but sometimes just an outer layer easily torn apart when true emotions were exposed. And in that chaotic moment, everyone witnessing seemed to feel the fragility of the values they had trusted, and wondered whether society truly understood their true selves, or simply judged them by their appearance. As the cabin slowly returned to its calm state, the echoes of the fierce storm still lingered, like a warning that reputation and success, no matter how many years they were built, could still be shaken by genuine emotions. The core issue of the conflict between reputation and hasty judgment had been placed undeniably, causing everyone witnessing to ask themselves, can a person truly be understood and appreciated Or are they merely fragile illusions, easily shattered by the weight of prejudice? And that question, like the echo of a cold wind, still lingered in the air, reminding everyone that any value could be tested when true emotions exploded. On the first-class flight, as the cabin slowly regained its order after the recent chaos, the atmosphere gradually shifted from a state of disorder to an ominous silence full of implication. In that space, although the warm light still glimmered through the large windows, the minds of the passengers seemed to be compressed by unspoken questions and murmured gossip. Mark Anderson, after his violent outbursts, continued to echo his shouts, as if these words were not just a personal outburst of anger, but also a declaration of a hidden truth from David Beckham's past. Mark kept shouting, "Listen here, the things they never wanted people to know." The accusations that seemed to have been prepared long ago, repeating with each beat of his furious rage. Every word of his rang out like mournful notes mixed with fervent emotion, making the atmosphere in the cabin heavier and more contradictory. These shouts didn't only target the individual, but seemed to reveal fragments of a mysterious past, truths never told before, sparking in everyone's hearts a feeling of curiosity intertwined with unease. The passengers began to discuss, whispering to each other about what they had just witnessed. Some silently exchanged glances, their eyes a mixture of surprise and fear, while others could not hide their curiosity, wondering what could have pushed Mark Anderson to this point. Could the shouts hide a secret about David Beckham's past that no one had dared to consider? The atmosphere grew heavy with unspoken words, and it seemed like every voice, every glance was becoming a piece of a complex puzzle about the hidden truth. While the flight crew tried to calm the situation and ensure the safety of the passengers, Mark continued to repeat his accusations. He emphasized in a fierce tone, "They are hiding something. His past is not what he wants people to believe." These words made the atmosphere in the cabin even more chaotic, as if the storm of emotions had not yet settled. At times, Mark even stopped, his eyes fixed on David, as if trying to drag the successful man down to the depths of the truth, exposing what everyone had tried to keep hidden. His persistence in repeating these accusations created an effect like a dark prophecy, causing the minds of the passengers to become more confused and restless. While Mark continued his angry outbursts, David Beckham's gaze never left the space around him. He sat there with his usual calm demeanor, but in his glittering eyes, there was an unmistakable trace of worry, as if he was thinking of something very significant, a secret that was gradually being revealed. His silence, although in complete contrast to Mark's shouts, made the atmosphere even more tense and full of implication. Everyone witnessing seemed to feel that, inside David, there were deep thoughts, signs indicating that Mark's accusations were not just empty words, but could contain a dark truth about his past. A truth that, if revealed, could change the way the public viewed this icon of success. The passengers and crew began to exchange worried glances, whispering about what had just happened. They tried to connect, sharing fragmented pieces of information, but the chaos had not yet subsided. Every word, every gesture from Mark seemed to add another clue, opening up unspoken questions about the truth behind David's successful image and calm demeanor. The shouts didn't seem to be just personal attacks. They were also the echoes of a complicated past, of secrets never meant to be revealed. The atmosphere gradually became filled with contradictions, as the truth remained hidden and the hasty accusations intertwined to form a complex picture of fame and truth. Amidst the lingering tension and questioning glances in the airplane cabin, a security officer appeared to intervene. The light from the wall clock and the brisk footsteps of the security officer cut through the chaotic atmosphere, marking the turning point of the emotional storm. However, as the security officer approached, Mark Anderson did not hesitate. He lunged forward, continuing to scream and punch the air as if to show everyone that he would never stop in the face of any obstruction. Mark's actions immediately sparked another wave of chaos, making the atmosphere in the cabin even more disordered and tense. While the security officer tried to contain the situation, Mark kept yelling, repeating the accusations he had long prepared. Each of his words seemed like a piece of a puzzle hiding secrets, unspoken contradictions that society had tried to conceal. Mark's frenzy not only stirred external chaos, but also caused the passengers in the cabin to feel uneasy as their eyes shifted toward David Beckham, the man who, despite maintaining his composure, now had a look of concern on his face, as if signaling that a great secret was about to be revealed. Amidst the turmoil, David Beckham remained quietly seated in his luxurious chair, but his face was not entirely unguarded. A faint expression of concern slipped through the wrinkles, like a warning of things yet to be revealed. His gaze, still confident, seemed to see through each fragment of the accusations, each passionate scream from Mark. In each moment of silence, David seemed to be immersed in thought, as if the insults were not simply evaporating words, but were lifting the veil of a mysterious past, one that might shake his reputation if the truth came to light. Meanwhile, the passengers and crew gradually fell into a state of anxiety, whispering and exchanging their thoughts with each other. They wondered, could Mark's passionate accusations really just be empty words? Or do they hide a secret that no one dares to reveal? A question that seemed to echo throughout the space, increasing the curiosity and uncertainty. Though the event lasted only a few brief minutes, it opened a door to deep thoughts about reputation, the true value of success, and the hidden parts of people that society often refuses to acknowledge. The security officer, despite his attempts to intervene, seemed unable to calm Mark Anderson's storm. His frantic actions continued as he kept shouting and swinging his hands, punching the air like a silent declaration. Look at his true self, as if he wanted to ignite curiosity and confusion in everyone's mind. His wordless violence, mixed with the anxious silence of David Beckham, created a picture full of contradictions and implications, making every witness question how many painful secrets and deep personal conflicts might be hidden beneath the calm exterior of the successful. As the cabin gradually returned to order, Mark Anderson's shouts eventually faded, but the echoes of the emotional storm still reverberated in everyone's mind. David Beckham sat there, still maintaining his calm appearance, but his gaze carried unspoken questions, signs that a great secret was about to be revealed. That sense of anxiety was like a ticking clock, reminding everyone that, despite appearing radiant and successful on the outside, within each person there are pieces of the past, secrets that could change everything, a truth that, if exposed, could shake the very image of reputation. On the first-class flight of a renowned airline, after the chaotic event that had yet to settle, the atmosphere in the cabin gradually became tense and full of contradictions. The passengers were now divided into two distinct factions. One side supported Mark Anderson's strong actions, believing that the truth needed to be exposed, while the other side defended the reputation of David Beckham, who had long been praised as a symbol of success and composure. This division spread throughout the space, as everyone seemed to search for an explanation for what they had just witnessed, and every gaze was filled with unspoken tension and unease. In the cabin, David Beckham, who was admired by everyone for his elegant appearance and calm demeanor, now struggled with an inner storm. Although he maintained his outward composure, inside David was overwhelmed with conflicting thoughts and deep anxiety. He wondered whether the reputation he had built over the years could truly protect who he was, whether beneath the success he projected, there were pains, memories, and conflicts he had never dared to acknowledge. Each word of gossip, each suspicious glance from the passengers and crew seemed like invisible daggers cutting through him, causing his usual self-confidence to gradually waver. Meanwhile, Mark Anderson, the one who had caused the violent storm on the flight, seemed to become even more unhinged. His anger was not only expressed in shouts and violent blows, but it also spread into an emotional outburst, clearly showing the inner conflicts he had long harbored. In this heavy atmosphere, the passengers began to split into two sides. Those who supported Mark, believing his actions were a necessary accusation, a way to reveal the secrets and prejudices that had been hidden for too long. They argued that nothing was too extreme when it came to uncovering the truth Mark was speaking of. On the other hand, those defending David's reputation believed that, regardless of any faults, He remained a successful and admired figure, and that Mark's actions were nothing more than rumors, uncontrolled bursts of anger that should not be accepted. This division not only sparked intense debates among the passengers, but also created an atmosphere full of contradictions, as everyone asked, what really happened? Could Mark's storm be just a personal emotional outburst? Or does it contain accusations prepared long ago about David Beckham's past? In the meantime, David Beckham sat silently in his luxurious leather seat, his face still holding its usual composure, but his eyes revealed subtle signs of worry. Every whisper from the passengers, every scrutinizing look from the crew seemed to add another layer of invisible pressure weighing on his mind. He felt the stark contrast between the values he had worked so hard to build over the years and the rumors, the unfounded accusations now loudly echoing through the cabin. The memories of being judged and ridiculed, even though he had once told himself his reputation would never be shaken, now seemed to erupt from deep within, demanding an explanation he could not easily provide. While David struggled with his inner turmoil, Mark Anderson continued to shout, his words becoming even more intense. He emphasized, "They are hiding something. His truth is not what he wants people to think," each word sounding like a heavy note of anger that had not been released. Mark's passionate actions not only caused confusion in the cabin, but also made each witness question whether these accusations were truly just a personal outburst or had been prepared long ago, like pieces of a larger story no one dared to reveal. The groups of passengers began to split, one side supporting Mark with the belief that the reputation of famous people should be tested by the truth, while the other side defended David's image, arguing that nothing warranted such violent actions. The conversations in the cabin grew increasingly murmur-filled, creating a complex picture of the conflict between the value of success and the hasty judgments made. Every word, every glance seemed to carry an unspoken question about the true nature of fame, whether, beneath the grandeur, there were pains and conflicts we could never see. In this tense atmosphere, David Beckham, though still trying to maintain his composure, seemed to be shaken by a storm of emotions. He realized that the reputation he had painstakingly built could not withstand the power of rumors and unfounded criticism. His emotions, though hidden behind his elegant exterior, felt like turbulent waves gradually overtaking his mind. He wondered whether everything he had been praised for was just an illusion, or whether beneath it all, there were deep contradictions he had never dared to admit to himself. Amidst the chaos in the cabin, Mark Anderson continued his emotional outbursts, his shouts echoing everywhere like a declaration that nothing is permanent, that fame and success are mere facades easily shattered when the truth is exposed. The contrast between David's silence and Mark's storm created a powerful inner conflict, opening up a vivid picture of the true value of fame, when genuine emotions can no longer be concealed under the veneer of success. As the cabin slowly returned to a temporary calm, the whispers of the passengers and the questioning glances still lingered, like a reminder that inside every person, there are fragments of the past and secrets never to be revealed. The story of fame and hasty judgment had been raised forcefully, causing everyone who witnessed it to ask whether a person's worth could truly be measured solely by their apparent success, or whether it also depends on the genuine emotions, the inner conflicts no one dares to uncover. As the atmosphere in the airplane cabin gradually returned to order, the clues of an undisclosed secret still lingered in the minds of everyone. While the crew was trying to calm the situation and prepare to return the flight to its normal state, a video unexpectedly appeared through the airplane's entertainment system, causing the tension and confusion to rise more than ever. The video, which was displayed on each passenger's personal screen, showed footage from a surveillance camera at a previous event, an event most people were unaware of. In the video, Mark Anderson appeared in an extremely unusual moment. He was allegedly manipulated and exploited by an external force, with the aim of tarnishing David Beckham's reputation. The images, along with vague commentary, revealed that, in the past, Mark had not been fully in control of his actions. Instead, he had become a tool in a complex scheme, a scheme aimed at devaluing a symbol of success. When the video played, the atmosphere in the cabin instantly shifted to a completely different state of chaos. The passengers, who had already experienced the storm of the previous event, were now in shock and confusion. Whispers and anxious murmurs spread throughout, as the witnesses could not help but feel stunned by the newly revealed images. The video not only revealed that Mark Anderson had been manipulated, but it also clearly showed that he was unaware he was being exploited, that his frantic actions were merely part of a larger plan to tarnish David Beckham's reputation. As the video ended, the truth that was exposed caused a strong wave of reactions. Mark Anderson immediately realized that he had become a pawn in a plot that he had been completely unaware of. Regret surged within him like a powerful wave, causing his face to shift from one of anger to one of deep confusion and remorse. In that moment, Mark seemed to realize that all his shouting, all his violent actions, were not just an outburst of personal rage, but the result of a sophisticated scheme, a plot he had been entirely unaware of. The passengers and crew quickly shifted from shock to curiosity, and gradually, conversations began to arise. They couldn't help but wonder, could the images in the video be true? And if they are, how could the reputation of David Beckham, someone who everyone has always praised, be affected? At that moment, David Beckham still sat silently, but his gaze became more pensive than ever. The anxious expression on his face could no longer be hidden, as if he was realizing that the truth about his past was slowly being exposed, and that if that happened, the entire image he had built would be shaken. Meanwhile, Mark Anderson, with a confused and remorseful expression, did not know how to react. The truth he had once tried to conceal, now being revealed publicly, seemed to weigh him down with the burden of wrong decisions and baseless accusations. His regret surged, mixed with a sense of helplessness, making the emotional storm within him grow even more intense. Every look, every whisper from the passengers seemed to make him feel trapped in an inescapable trap, a plot he had never expected would happen. The video, with all its vividness and heartbreak, opened a door to the truth that had yet to be revealed. It not only disclosed that Mark Anderson had been manipulated and exploited, but it also made everyone wonder what dark secrets might be hidden beneath David Beckham's successful exterior. Those questions, though not immediately answered, spread throughout the space, making the atmosphere in the airplane cabin tense and full of implications. The passengers, still stunned by what had just happened, gradually realized that the emotional storm was not only the outburst of an individual, but also a declaration of a great truth about to be revealed. A truth that could change the entire way they viewed reputation and success. When the security officer finally managed to restore order, the atmosphere in the cabin still carried a sense of unease and unspoken questions. David Beckham, sitting silently in his luxurious seat, still maintained his calm demeanor, but his eyes clearly showed his anxiety, as if he were waiting for something monumental, a secret that could cause his reputation to be shaken forever. The silence, combined with the whispers of the passengers, created a space full of contradictions, where everyone wondered if, beneath the magnificent exterior of a successful icon, there were things we dared not imagine. On the first-class flight of a prestigious airline, the atmosphere in the cabin gradually returned to order after the recent chaos, but the heavy echoes of tension remained. Immediately following Mark Anderson's screams and frenzied strikes, the air in the cabin seemed to contain an invisible pressure, where every witness felt the confrontation between the celebrated values and the dark truth that was slowly being revealed. It was a moment when Mark's accusations, shouts, and violent actions turned the airplane cabin into a stage of contradiction and unhidden pain. Not long after the emotional storm erupted, the lights in the cabin suddenly shifted to a colder hue, signaling the intervention of security forces, and eventually, the police arrived to intervene. As the police and security personnel appeared, they rushed into the chaotic area with determination, raising their hands harshly to restore order. In that final tense moment, as the light from the lamps illuminated the faces of each passenger, like sparks reflecting pain and confusion, Mark Anderson, still in a frantic state, tried to explain his accusations. He shouted, his voice still echoing like thunder in the tense atmosphere. "I didn't do this because I wanted to. I was just trying to reveal the truth." Those words seemed to be both washed in anger and filled with the confusion of a soul unable to control its emotions. David Beckham, sitting silently in the cabin, still maintained his composure, but his gaze grew even more thoughtful, as if he were facing a wordless challenge from fate itself. While the security staff and police quickly moved in, converging on the area where Mark was spiraling out of control, David, with the calm and dignity he had built over the years, stood up and gently declared, "There must be justice. The truth must be brought to light." His words rang out in the air like a challenge, affirming that no matter how intense the emotional storms might be, reputation and human values should not be extinguished by violence or unfounded rumors. In that moment, the intervention of security and police only made the situation more intense. The officers quickly restrained Mark Anderson, pulling him down and escorting him off the plane. Though their actions were decisive and forceful, they could not erase the echoes of the violent storm that had just taken place. While Mark was held tightly, he continued to shout, trying to explain, "I just want everyone to know the truth." Words that seemed to come from deep inside him, but only left the others more confused and bewildered. In that final tense moment, as the light from the lamp shone upon Mark's face, his face full of fury slowly shifted to an expression of confusion, as if he was beginning to realize the heavy consequences of the violent actions he had caused. The intervention of the police was not just a physical restraint, but a moment where everyone witnessed the emotional storm of a rebellious man being apprehended, and in it, his explanations became futile, like the echoes of a wounded soul that could not be saved. David Beckham, standing in the middle of the cabin with unwavering composure, watched as Mark was escorted off the plane, his eyes full of resolve. He knew that, in that moment, his reputation was not only an image built over years of effort, but also the value of integrity and belief in justice. He gently declared to all the passengers, "Let the truth be spoken, and let justice be served." His words resonated in the air like a vow of honesty, a belief that would never be shaken by emotional storms and prejudices. Amid the tense atmosphere and unspoken whispers, the passengers gradually fell silent, as if they were telling themselves that every action, every word in that moment would leave an indelible mark. The story of violence and insults that had just occurred not only made David Beckham's reputation fragile, but also opened up a confrontation between the true value of a person and the hasty judgments of society. The previous laughter, the praises for success and elegance, were now replaced by questioning glances, murmurs, and the sighs of disappointment. This tense encounter raised a wordless question about the value of reputation, about the truth of a person. Can reputation truly conceal the deep pain and contradictions within? Or is it just a fragile shell, easily damaged when true emotions are exposed? These questions, though unanswered immediately, lingered in the minds of every witness, creating a vivid picture of the conflict between the glorified image and the conflicting reality of a person. As the airplane cabin gradually returned to peace, Mark Anderson, in his restrained state, spoke one last time, but his voice was now filled with confusion and regret. He said, I just wanted to tell the truth. I didn't know." Those weak words seemed to echo like a silent cry of a soul torn apart by actions he could not control. His regret, mingled with a sense of helplessness, flooded his mind like waves, making every witness feel sympathy, even though they still wondered about the true cause behind the fierce storm that had just passed. After the storm of chaos subsided and Mark Anderson was removed from the airplane cabin, the journey of truth and emotions was far from over. In the detention center, under the dim light of the interrogation room, Mark Anderson was finally forced to face himself. During the questioning, Mark gradually revealed deep regret as he realized that, in his fury, he had been exploited by an external force, a sophisticated plot aimed at tarnishing David Beckham's reputation. Someone he had no idea had become the target of these machinations. The truth, revealed later through a video, showed clearly that, in the past, Mark had been manipulated and exploited to carry out violent actions, without knowing that he was merely a tool in a conspiracy to devalue a symbol of success. In the interrogation room, the weak light illuminated Mark's face, the wrinkles and anxious features clearly visible as he admitted, "I was wrong. I let my anger build up until I lost control. I didn't know I was being exploited, that everything I did was just part of a bigger plan." His words echoed like a cry of a wounded soul, like tears that could never dry, leaving a deep sense of understanding in everyone's heart about regret and unending pain. As the questioning continued, Mark began to realize that his violent actions were not just an outburst of anger, but also the result of a plot he had been completely unaware of. He recounted moments when his anger surged, where his shouts were not just empty words, but echoes of dark secrets, of prejudices and unresolved conflicts. His regret intensified as he realized that, in that fury, he had hurt an innocent man, David Beckham, a man he knew only through images that always exuded success and elegance, but never once imagined that inside that person, there could be things he had wrongfully judged. While Mark was held accountable for his actions, David Beckham's reputation was gradually protected through the intervention of the security forces and through the strong statements of the famous man himself. David, still maintaining his usual composure, was filled with unspoken thoughts and sorrow. He realized that Mark's actions, though causing a violent storm on the flight, also opened up questions about trust and fairness in society. He wondered, in a world where hasty judgments and rumors could shake people's trust, how could we protect the true value of ourselves? These questions echoed in his mind, like the melancholy notes of a symphony about truth and justice. After Mark Anderson was arrested and taken to jail, the story of the violent actions on the flight began to spread, leaving an indelible impression in the minds of the witnesses. People began to discuss, exchange their thoughts and opinions about the truth revealed in the video, about the accusations, and about the consequences of uncontrolled actions. They wondered how the reputation of a person could be attacked when true emotions are exposed, and whether, in the modern world, fairness could truly be upheld when baseless prejudices and rumors spread so widely. Meanwhile, David Beckham continued to maintain the image of a successful person, a symbol of success. He appeared in the media with his composed demeanor, but in every word, in every glance, there was a deep sorrow. The sorrow of someone who had witnessed the truth being distorted, someone who had been tested by violent actions and false rumors. He affirmed, "The truth cannot be hidden forever, and justice will always be served." This statement was not only a challenge to those who carried out the violent actions, but also a commitment that reputation and human values would never be overshadowed by the power of fairness and integrity. During the questioning, Mark Anderson gradually realized the heavy consequences of his actions. He began to express genuine regret, each of his words like a silent cry of a soul severely wounded by his own anger. "I was wrong. I didn't know I was just a pawn in the game of those who used me." These weak words echoed, like an unspoken apology from someone who had self-destructed. He realized that in his fury, not only had David's reputation been damaged, but his own had been severely affected, submerged in regret and helplessness. That feeling was like a violent wave sweeping away all pride, leaving behind a person suddenly empty, full of regret for what had passed. As Mark endured those moments of deep regret, the consequences of his violent actions became a hot topic in the media. The press continuously reported on the event, opening up heated discussions about trust, the value of reputation, and fairness in society. The news spread quickly, causing David Beckham's reputation to be gradually protected by public empathy and support. But it also raised questions about whether, in the modern world, justice could truly be upheld when violent actions and uncontrolled rumors could lead to such devastating consequences. In that context, David Beckham, while still maintaining his composed demeanor, had words and glances that always carried a clear message. We must live true to ourselves, no matter how many challenges fate throws our way. He believed that, Despite the prejudice and criticism, the truth would always be revealed, and only justice, along with integrity and self-awareness, could lead us to a fairer future. In the days following the event, Mark Anderson was held in jail, where the lengthy moments of questioning caused him to gradually reveal deep regret. In the interrogation room under the dim light, Mark sat with a gloomy face, each of his words like an unspoken apology, a silent cry of a soul severely wounded by his own actions. He admitted, "I was wrong. I let my anger control me, and now I have to bear the consequences of what I've done." These words, though weak, resonated with a message that, no matter who might be exploited by hidden forces, the ultimate responsibility still lies with the individual when they choose their path. Mark's actions left a strong impression on the flight, causing David Beckham's reputation to be fiercely protected, but also opening deep questions about trust and fairness in society. The passengers, the witnesses of that emotional storm, became living witnesses to a big message: that while reputation can be built over many years of effort, it can also be shaken when violent actions and uncontrolled rumors are exposed. The event made everyone reflect on the value of trust, on who we should place our trust in, and whether, in a world full of prejudices and societal pressures, there is still room for fairness and for the true truth of each individual. During the questioning, Mark Anderson gradually realized that his actions not only had severe consequences for himself, but also hurt innocent people. He seemed to begin to understand that the accusations, the shouts he had made, were not just personal bursts of anger, but also the manifestation of a system of prejudices that had been used to manipulate his mind. Regret filled Mark's heart, mixed with helplessness, making him wonder whether he would ever be able to right the wrongs he had caused, or if it was too late to turn back. Each word spoken in the interrogation room was an apology, a plea for forgiveness, but also an affirmation that sometimes the truth cannot be hidden forever, and the consequences of violent actions always demand an unavoidable confrontation. Meanwhile, David Beckham continued to maintain the image of a successful icon, but inside, he was filled with deep reflections on the value of trust and reputation. He realized that, even though Mark's actions might have tested his reputation, what was more important was how he faced the truth. He always believed that only honesty and self-awareness could protect the value of a person, and no matter how many rumors or judging glances came his way, David remained confident that, in the end, justice would be served, and the truth would always triumph. In the final moments of the flight, as everything gradually returned to calm, the echoes of the emotional storm still resonated in everyone's hearts. The confrontation between Mark Anderson and David Beckham, though occurring only in the chaotic moments of the flight, left an indelible message in everyone's minds about the value of reputation, the truth, and the consequences of violent actions. The story was not just a brief event, but a reminder that, in a world where reputation and success can be shaken by rumors and uncontrolled actions, trust and fairness are the values that cannot be broken. The golden-orange light of the sunset shone through the large windows, casting shadows across the corners of the room. A luxurious space where every item, every painting bore the mark of time and success. The last rays of the day were fading, creating gentle yet profound streaks of light across David Beckham's face. He stood there, in the quiet space of the room, while outside, the city continued to move silently. Under the sunset's glow, his face, though calm and resolute as usual, could not conceal the traces of inner struggles he had endured for so long. The truth is never easy to accept, but facing the truth is the only path forward. David, still a symbol of success, of composure admired by the world, now had to face something inevitable. He had weathered many challenges, many storms, but he had never faced a judgment like this. Mark Anderson's actions on the flight had not only changed his life in an instant, but had also opened up deep questions about truth, the value of a person, and trust in society. He realized that truth, though painful, always finds a way to assert itself, even if it must be paid for with regret, loss, and wounds that will never heal. In this moment, the sunset light seemed to serve as a reminder that, although everything in life may seem solid, it can easily be shaken by an unexpected event, a violent act, or a hasty judgment. David looked out the window, where the remaining light of day and the encroaching darkness slowly merged into a mystical painting. The patches of light from street lamps illuminated the ground, casting long, faint shadows, like vague illusions in his mind, where everything could change in a single moment. He thought about Mark's actions, the violent storm that man had caused, the passionate accusations and blows into the air around him. Mark, in his rage, had not only attacked him, but had also attacked everything he had built, everything David had strived for and sacrificed over the years. But in that moment, as the truth about Mark's actions was gradually revealed, David did not feel hatred. Instead, he felt peace, a firm sense that, although everything could break, belief in integrity and truth would always remain. David understood that, although fame could be valuable, it was not always built on complete truth. Sometimes, society's judgments, rumors, and baseless prejudices could shake everything a person had. However, it was precisely in the moment when these truths were exposed, even if paid for with regret, that justice would ultimately prevail. Self-awareness and the ability to face the truth were the true strength to withstand the storm of emotions, the hasty judgments. Mark Anderson, who had caused the chaos on the flight, now had to face the ultimate regret in the darkness of the interrogation room. The actions he had committed could not be erased from his mind. Recalling his anger, his shouting, and his powerful blows into the air, Mark could not help but feel a deep pain. He realized that those actions had not only hurt David, but had also hurt himself. He had become a pawn in a scheme he was unaware of, a scheme woven by those who sought to destroy people like David. At that moment, Mark began to realize clearly that his actions had pushed him into a situation from which nothing could change. The insults, the violent blows he had carried out could not be justified, as they stemmed from misguided judgments and a lack of self-control. The overwhelming sense of regret flooded Mark's heart, making him unable to forgive himself. In the darkness of regret, he realized that, although he could try to rationalize or escape, what had happened would always follow him. Like a ghost he could not escape. Mark began to clearly understand that all the judgments he had made were unfounded, merely hasty words based on unverified prejudices. He had reacted impulsively, without thinking, without ever stopping to consider the consequences he would have to face. The public video, the criticisms that had been raised by Mark, now became wounds that could never heal. The tears, although they might not erase the mistakes, served as proof of regret, of awakening from someone who had once been blind in judgment. This story is not just a struggle for fame, but a struggle for regret and the search for truth. Mark's actions, although they had hurt many, now gave him a profound lesson about the consequences of hasty judgment and lack of awareness. But through these mistakes, Mark learned one thing: even if the truth can be concealed, even if everything can be distorted, the truth will ultimately assert itself. And when the truth is exposed, when everything becomes clear, only regret and facing one's wrongdoings will help one find peace in the heart. David Beckham, while still maintaining his image as a symbol of success, also realized that, although others might judge him by what they saw, only he could truly understand his own worth. He stood firm, not letting the judgments and violent actions of others shake the values he had built. Even though Mark had tried to push him to the edge of crisis, in the end, it was truth and self-awareness that helped David rise up and prevail. This story is not just a lesson about judgment, truth, and regret, but also a profound reminder of the value of determination and self-awareness in life. Each of us must face our own challenges and mistakes, but only when we dare to face the truth, take responsibility, and learn from those mistakes can we find peace in our hearts and open the path to true freedom.